Hey everyone, and hope everyone's doing good. So thank you for tuning in again, and much appreciated. So subscribe if you haven't, or comment, thumbs up. Let me know if you have any ideas or thoughts or questions. This is great. So much appreciated as always. I wanted to talk real briefly about UFOs again. So I've been kind of fascinated recently more and more in the history, or perhaps the unknown or hidden history of humanity. For example, what built the pyramids? We still don't have a good answer for that. There's no modern day theory that really fits how these structures were built or really what they were used for, and no evidence, at least we don't know of. Maybe it's being kept secret, but where things like that and why they're found all over the world and why some of them align and point to certain star systems, it's really interesting. And not only that, but why there are Egyptian style ruins on Mars and signs of life, for example, and pyramids as well. So in some of these you can find, so it's not speculation, it's things that are released on the NASA website, and they do provide some imagery and simply open-ended speculation. I think there's a lot more information they have that they just don't share with us. Keep in mind too that the FBI has released files. Was it the CIA or CIA or FBI, about contact with other like interdimensional beings in UFO, like the reality of such things, and the remote viewing programs. This is declassified information, and they've even admitted success with their remote viewing program. So they don't admit much, but the fact that they do is kind of telling, because there's been a lot of speculation about that for a long time. So anyways, these things just kind of, that and our major religions, for example, like where do they come from and why the similarities and the timeline, some of the timelines that we still haven't pieced quite together quite yet. The evolution of mankind, its accelerated evolution at a certain point, and also where we come from and why certain racial groups disappeared or died off. So not racial groups, I'm sorry, precursors to man. There's different kinds of humans and humanoids, and we are, okay, don't quote me, I'll have to do the research, but I think Homo sapiens, that's us. We are the last existing branch of that particular species of humans. There used to be several, and they all died off or intermarried or interbred, and then we came to be. But there's really no solid explanation. We don't have a complete history of humanity quite yet. And with all these other kind of questions and bits of proof floating around out there, it really makes me wonder. So, and there is some speculation. There's like some ancient information and, talk of like esoteric ancient brotherhoods that keep this information sacred and secret, our history, for example. For what reasons? I don't know. For whatever reasons, or maybe some of it got destroyed and lost. But there's also a lot of theory and speculation that our ancient religions and where they came from, a lot of them, or our ideas of celestial beings with great powers actually came from humanoids or other humanoid type beings from other planets. And it's not out of the question if you think about it. Like, on one hand, yeah, it's crazy stuff to ponder, but on the other hand, now that, our governments are really admitting to life in outer space, and not just UFOs, but alien beings, it's like, how many civilizations are out there, and how old are they? And is it really out of the question that in the past there has been contact with some of these civilizations? I mean, why not? So I've been watching so many videos, and I'm trying to piece together some of the information, and I don't know personally. I'm starting to form kind of my own belief in what I think occurred. So there's a lot of different books and a lot of people out there now still alive talking about it, and a long time ago too, talking about an alien civilization that came here a long time ago and genetically manipulated us. I did a video like 2 years ago when I asked the question, did aliens actually alter our DNA? And the answer was yes. And I was like, no. But I put it up there anyways. I said yes. It didn't make sense to me at the time, but I put up the video. But apparently, so we have what's called in this, junk DNA, or certain strands of DNA that appear to be deactivated or inactivated. And that's due to genetic altering and tampering that was done to us. So from what I understand, a long time ago, and if you look up research terms like the Anunnaki, that's what they're called, this alien beings that are kind of conflated with gods and people with like amazing powers because they could live for a long time and spaceships, and they can fly through the air. So from all these videos I've been watching, and from just to kind of streamline what I think I know so far, it is true that, so we did naturally evolve here on Earth. Homo sapiens and all the different branches of humans that come from here naturally evolved on Earth, just like a lot of the other species here. But a long time ago, a civilization passed through here and were seeking places to colonize or harvest resources. So, and they came upon Earth and they saw this species here, and through genetic manipulation accelerated their evolutionary growth. And they also taught them things, like agriculture and language and things like that, so they could create societies and rule over them and use them to harvest the resources of the planet. So I know that sounds crazy. It's right out of a book, but that's what I believe. There's some truth in that. And they were a really advanced species of humans that kind of look like us and our racial groups, which I'll get to in a minute. Just a lot bigger and taller and stronger and amazing technology. So again, they could travel far distances and live a really long time. So, and had really great military technology too. But they are the ones who helped build the pyramids and a lot of ancient structures using this sort of technology, and used humanity, and they helped create and develop these civilizations so that people could harvest all the resources here. So and eventually did do that to Mars too, and took humans to Mars to colonize that place. And that's why we see these structures up there. Now, Mars has completely been wiped out and destroyed. And from what I understand, so at a certain point, they came here and they got what they needed to, or were able to harvest and use quite a bit from Earth. The genetic manipulation, our racial groups, from what I understand, this is what kind of blew my mind, was done by this group of off-world species. So it doesn't come from evolution here like we think. Our racial groups here are a representation of the racial groups from where they come from. And they did it to leave their mark. That's why we have all this genetic altering. For example, to leave their mark here with this evolved form of humans that they created, they also created the input code for their own genetic racial groups. So, it's kind of like a we were here type of thing. But as far as the genetic alteration, the destruction on Mars, like with anything, geopolitically here on Earth, there's people who thought, we shouldn't be ruling over these humans, or we shouldn't be harvesting the resources of Earth. And then there was like conflict, like a war, for example, and that is what led to like the absolute destruction on Mars. And what's weird is there's some proof of like isotopes on Mars, like radioactive, like leftover, residue that can only be caused by like atomic explosions or massive weaponry. So it almost fits that narrative too perfectly. Like so there was this massive destruction, and eventually, what was occurring here actually stopped, and they left. They completely left, and we were left to our own devices eventually. So, and then after that, we just kept naturally evolving with the knowledge and technology that we had at the time. So I don't know about all the timelines or specifics, but just trying to channel this information, that's kind of the confirmations I was receiving. And there's some real interesting. There's a lot of in-depth information about ancient Sumerian and Egyptian civilizations and possible connections to the stars. So that are out there that I encourage you to read if you're interested. But I thought it was really cool food, food for thought, and it really changes the narrative about where we come from and why we're here. I believe personally in evolution, physical evolution, and we are part of the physical universe, infinite possible physical dimensions, but we are part of one of them, and we were just born here. When we die, we will cross over into the non-physical realms of the afterlife, and that's it. So I believe our origin lies in evolution, and there's just life teeming out there, and we are part of this cycle. And by the way, when we die, everyone is preserved and awoken immediately in a fair and healed manner. I believe in a very objective and a fair process that occurs for all of us. And it makes sense too, like wandering souls. There's this idea that, certain people, if you die a certain way, or karma, for example, your soul will be tied to earth. And it's like, interesting theories. Me personally, though, I believe, if you think about it, as ancient as the universe is, the afterlife is even older. So there's got to be a system in place. If you think about it, your family and friends that go back thousands, or who knows, tens of thousands of millions of years. And not only that, but there's organizations in the afterlife, like on Earth in the afterlife. And they're not just going to let souls wander. If you think about it, it's like, hey, if that person's lost, let's go find them. Or, and the technology and everything is infinite in the spiritual realms and far surpasses what we have in the physical realms here on Earth anyways. But everything is possible in the afterlife. So people don't just reincarnate. If you think about it, if we are born here and this is our first life, again, that's just what I believe. And, if our souls die, there's got to be a process to bring them over and just kind of explain, wake them back up and say, oh, look, you're in the afterlife now, and this is how that happens. People aren't just going to be like, oh, where's, what happened to my grandparents or whatever? I just got word that they died on Earth, like say I'm in the afterlife. Oh, your grandpa is wandering around in like the lower realms because he's lost, but your grandma's like 10 realms over on a different planet haunting somebody's home, and you're like, what? No, would you let your family or friends or their souls just kind of like whatever happens? No, there's order if you think about it, and there's order and there's organizations and there's rules, and it is equal and fair for all, and everybody is immediately transported and awoken in the same fair, objective, neutral manner, because nobody knows. Because there's no rules or cosmic laws of karma or reincarnation. There's no God pulling the strings. This is just a massive teeming civilization in the afterlife, just like there is in the physical universe here, that help take care of that sort of process when our souls transition from one realm to the rest. To the next. So anyways, before I get too far off topic, so I just wanted to share this with you, and I think it's pretty cool. And what are your thoughts and beliefs, or do you have any information to share about just what's going on with all the strange stuff in our Earth's history and our government's admitting of stuff like this? These things they find on Mars and remote viewing and now UFOs and aliens and the unexplained that we have on Earth. So I think I know there's a history out there that is kept someone on Earth knows, and other people from other planets know what happened here. It's just like everything else, our governments keep us in the dark for whatever reason. They feel it's for our best interest or not. But anyways, so I just wanted to share that and put that out there. So, well, hey, thanks again, and really appreciate you watching. Hope you're all doing great. So take care. We'll see you later.